If you are still securing square tubing with angle iron, once the railing is finished, all the nuts remain visible, and the whole job looks like something is missing. An experienced worker starts by removing the angle iron. Then he cuts a 90-degree notch into the square tube and drills through the bottom section. Once the tube is positioned over the anchor bolts in the floor, bend the notched section to 90 degrees so the bolts are completely hidden inside the tube. After welding everything together, none of the nuts can be seen from the outside. The entire railing looks like it was made from a single piece. 2. When welding hinges onto square tubing, many people simply make a few tack welds and call it finished. But this leaves the surface uneven and doesn't look very clean. Watch how an experienced worker does it. First, place 2 square tubes parallel to each other, measure the height of the hinge, and cut 2 notches in the corresponding positions until the hinge fits precisely inside. Then secure the center pin with tack welds. Once finished, the hinge is almost completely concealed inside the tubing, while the outer surface remains smooth. We're 1. 3. If you continuously weld thin wall square tubing like this, it is very easy to burn through the metal and create a hole. In fact, all you need to do is measure the width of the square tube and cut a rectangular opening into one side. When making the vertical connection, insert the 2 side plates of the opening into the other 2 tubes. This not only keeps everything properly positioned, but also increases the available welding area. Even with thin wall tubing, it becomes much harder to burn through the metal. 4. To connect 2 square tubes horizontally, you can use the same basic method. Simply cut a crossed section into one of the tubes to create a slot, then insert it into the other tube. This way, both tubes are already correctly positioned before you even start welding. The connection will not only be stronger, but the weld bead will also come out much more even. 5. A 90-degree joint between 2 round tubes may look simple, but if you cut them directly, getting a perfect fit can be difficult. Even without a template, an experienced worker doesn't make it complicated. First, locate the center point of the vertical tube and the tube that will be connected to it. Then use a piece of string. Take the mark on the vertical tube as the center point and use the distance between the 2 ends as the radius to draw the cutting line on the other tube. After cutting along the marked line, the 2 round tubes will fit together perfectly. 6. When 3 angle irons meet at a 90-degree corner, welding them together directly will always leave a large gap in the center. First, measure the width of the angle iron and then measure its thickness. Where the thickness and width markings intersect, the marked section shows where 2 of the angle irons overlap. Then use the same method to mark the other 2 angle irons. Once they are cut, all 3 pieces can overlap with each other in pairs. In the end, they form a clean 90-degree corner, with every piece perfectly perpendicular to the others.